My name is Russell Martin. I'm the founder of Virtually Mine and the VR Space. I founded Virtually Mine in 2014. Originally it was an equipment hire company. It slowly turned into an events and content creation company focusing on VR, and we're beginning to focus on training in the workplace and in education. We've worked with brands all over the world. Product launches for Philips lighting, for example, Peugeot. We've run brand awareness campaigns for the likes of Foster's, IKEA and Land Rover. And some of those I will touch upon in this presentation. So here's the agenda. So we're going to have a short introduction to virtual reality, why now, VR in education, then VR in the workplace, and then where do I start? So if you have no experience with VR, virtual reality, there'll be a few tips and pointers in there. And then when we finish up with the presentation, we'll push all the chairs back, get rid of some of them, and the sofas, and we've got some demos in this space over there, and some mobile headsets as well. Who here has used a VR headset before? Can I have the show of hands? Okay, so pretty much everyone, quite a few people. I asked people earlier, and there was a real mix from gaming headsets to Oculus Rift and the HTC Vives. If that means nothing to you, do not fear. I'm sure we'll speak about them in a moment. Okay, so definition of virtual reality, as Oxford Dictionaries puts it, it's the computer-generated simulation of a three-dimensional image or environment that can be interacted with in a seemingly real or physical way by a person using special electronic equipment, such as a helmet, a VR helmet, a helmet with a screen inside, or gloves fitted with sensors. So virtual reality, or what things that people consider as VR, have been around for a few decades now. So in the 80s and 90s, you had really hip and fun VR rigs, like the one this woman in the blue jeans is demonstrating. We had headsets like the Virtual Boy from Nintendo, which was like a massive flop in the 90s. We had Sensorimas, so these were like big machines that would tour arcades, circuses, that kind of thing. There'd be a movie in there that you'd watch. There'd be sounds, it would emit sensors, the chair would rumble. And then finally, most rudimentary, I guess, is the old Viewmasters. You obviously look through there and you see like a 3D landscape or image, which essentially without the computer is kind of VR-ish. So why now? Why is VR so popular now? And that's mainly because of the software and hardware have caught up with what we consider VR to be. So we imagine these worlds where we can interact with objects, they're high fidelity. That is thanks in a large part to smartphone technology. High definition screens inside the headsets obviously emit light, emit images. That combined with the lenses and all the other gubbins in there help a lot. The accelerometer that you might find in your phone, so when you walk around using Google Maps, it knows which way you're pointing. That's used in the headset as well, so it knows which way you're looking, for example. The video games industry, so the largest entertainment industry, has played a huge role in developing the software, where they've been creating immersive worlds for years. And much of the VR world now is thanks in large to the video game landscape. But it wasn't until this guy, Palmer Luckey, put together a headset in his garage. He founded Oculus Rift. He initially, in 2013, he launched a Kickstarter to raise $250,000 for his then prototype VR headset. He ended up getting $2.5 million, so it's quite popular. And he went on to found Oculus. So here he is on front of Time magazine. I think he got quite a bit of grief for that image. But he later sold Oculus to Facebook like 2 years later for $2 billion in stock and cash. And Palmer pocketed about 500 million of that. So not a bad 2 years for him. Today we have an abundance of VR headsets on the market. Everything from the cardboard headsets that you'd put your phone in, to the PlayStation VR that is very consumer focused, as many people have a PS4, for example, to run it, to headsets like the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive, which we'll be using later on today. All of these headsets have something in common. They all have lenses in. It's these lenses that help distort the image on the screen, which kind of like when looking for a pair of binoculars, you'll see two different images that are slightly different. Your brain merges them together and you get a 3D image, and that's essentially how the VR headset works. The difference between the HTC Vive, for example, and the Google Cardboard headset is tracking. So in this image and up here we have some sensors that would track the HTC Vive headset. So with the typical Google Cardboard or mobile headset, it's kind of like you're on a train, you're on a journey, you're in a seat and you're looking around, you can't interact with anything. You can't move off the train and go to different places. It's very much you're in the middle of a video or an experience, if you like. The HTC Vive uses these sensors that tracks your controllers and as well as the headset. So if you took a pace in the real world, you'll be taking a step in the virtual world. This enables you to obviously investigate and explore environments, and it's that is true VR, when you're interacting with these virtual worlds and navigating them. That's when it's most convincing. But it doesn't stop at headsets. VR doesn't stop at just the headset, the visual part of it. Obviously, audio plays a huge part in it being immersive. The audio combined with the visual aspect is obviously the most common form of VR. But we also have haptic suits, haptic gloves. These would be worn against the skin. They may send electrical impulses, or they may have really small airbags inside of them that will inflate, making you feel, forming pressure on the skin, and it makes it as though you're feeling like someone's touching you in VR, essentially. Really exciting stuff. This one here is the Tesla suit. I've used that one. It was quite bizarre. It reminded me of the old electrodes you stick on your abs, and then it sort of like tenses and makes all your muscles tense. That's essentially what it's doing. There are omnidirectional treadmills, such as this one. Some would be static, and this is like a dish, essentially. So when you walk, it sees that as the sort of forward command, and then you'd go in the air, you'd go in the direction that you're looking in. There's some more very specific bits of kit that you might use. So this is obviously for a bird flying simulation. He's obviously on a platform there. He hasn't, I don't think he's got headphones in on this, but he's got the headset, and then he's obviously got a fan blowing in his face there, and that obviously simulates wind. And it's all these different components that help make a virtual simulation, a virtual reality simulation, believable. But obviously it doesn't stop there. There's devices that emit smells, devices that vibrate, chairs that move, and so on. So here's some stats I collected from the internet. So currently the VR industry's revenue is valued at around $7 billion in hardware and software sales alone. So that doesn't account for all the huge campaigns people spend on PR and all the rest of it. Currently there are 170 million active VR users, and these statistics are taken from gaming platforms like Steam or the Oculus software platform. So these are how they're tracked and how they get these numbers. There are over 200 virtual reality headsets available on Amazon, and nearly 90% of all virtual reality headsets are mobile phone based. So you can imagine those 200 headsets, apart from 10%, are mobile headsets. Most of them, for the best part, are cheap plastic knockoffs. Every company is trying to do the same thing, essentially, and they don't go much farther than what the Gear VR would do, or the Google Cardboard. And then finally, as of January 2017, there are over 1,200 titles available on gaming platform Steam. So that's just one platform, and that was taken over a year ago now. So it gives you an idea of the amount of content that is out there, and the abundance of it. People think that there's only a few software applications available. That's not the case at all. Okay, so virtual reality in education. There are many benefits to VR in education. It's engaging, it's an active experience, so students typically tend to pay more attention. There are fewer distractions, so we've done some press releases where the client's product would be launched via this 360 video. Everyone puts on a headset and they're totally immersed in that world, you know. They're looking at the things that you want them to look at, otherwise you wouldn't have put them in that world. So there's nobody's friend next to them trying to pass them a note or speak to them why they should be paying attention to the slide or presentation in class. It's a good hands-on approach, obviously aids with retention, and it's exciting, you know. When I was at school, someone wheeled in the TV with the video cassette, blowout video player. Everyone's like, awesome, we're gonna end up watching a movie or something, or you know, something on the TV. It's the same now. When we have kids in here, some of them are being brought here as a surprise and they instantly get excited. They know what VR is, they've seen all the YouTubers use it, you know, everyone's clued up, they know what it is. There's pretty much every subject area has some form of VR application. So for example, you can go on virtual field trips on the Apollo 11 mission, which we've got today and we'll show you at the end of the session. You can experience D-Day. You can dissect the human anatomy, literally pull bits of the body out, interact with it, there'll be notes on it. So you can see how it's a really engaging user experience. Google Earth, obviously Google have mapped pretty much the planet in Google Earth. When you put the headset on, you can fly to any area on the planet. You can put in a postcode, your home postcode, you can go there, your house will be in 3D thanks to Street View and all of the satellites looking down on us. We'll be using that today as well. And people can paint in it. So there's a really popular application called Google Tilt Brush. It was launched with the HTC Vive headset. And you can quite literally paint with various brushes, different colors. In VR, you pull the trigger and the medium, the paint that comes out just hangs there. It is very cool. And as you can see, it's all three-dimensional. So if you draw in one space, you can then walk around it, draw from the other side. It's very cool. Last summer, we exhibited at a TED event. We exhibited at a TEDx event, and they wanted to show some form of VR there. They weren't fussed what it was, they just wanted to see some VR. We ended up taking some Oculus Rifts, and we did a 3D sculpting class. So people at TED were coming over, they were sculpting something in VR, and essentially all that they were doing were pulling the trigger on the controller, a clay-like substance was coming out of their fingers, and they were making characters in different shapes, that kind of thing. We could then take these virtual models that they'd just created with no prior experience in computer-aided design, and then we were 3D printing them live. So within the space of about half an hour, someone that had never used a VR headset before had created some shape or some image, extruded it, we exported it, and it was then a physical thing they could hold. We've got a short video here. We worked with Writtle Junior School. They're very they embrace new technologies essentially. I met with the head teacher. I was in the head teacher's office for the first time when I hadn't done something wrong, and in there he had drones hanging off the walls, 3D printers in there. And this was a primary school. They had recruited some architects to create a technology block on their grounds, and the architect had mapped it up in CAD, coloured it, added textures, and sent it over to us, which we then converted and put in virtual reality. We then had some of the school children over to essentially get inside the model and show us around. Essentially, they were going inside the model before the building had been built, even before the foundations had been built.
This is our pod. It's from a bird's eye view. It's quite an odd shape as it was designed by children, like me. And if we go up close to it, we can see we have quite a few of these triangular holes. You may be thinking what they are, and these holes are actually used as bird holders and bird feeders for some of the birds. So here, as you can see, we've got gardens here, which will be filled with flowers. And if you see that we have a curved roof, this is from all the rainwater coming down and then falling onto the plant, so that that's a better way to get watered.
If you come down here, there's a balcony just up here, which you can see over the field, and we'll be able to watch children do sports today, which is coming up soon. If you come through here, this is the inside balcony, where you can watch down with the snug area, which is just below us, and down there is where everyone will do their work learning.
This is going to be how we're going to go up and down into the pod. That's up to the balcony, and then this is going to be the door to the main entrance area. So then right now it's blank, but in this area we're going to have cushions and puffies to relax, read books, and then we're going to fill this up with stuff for us to use in our learning.
If you look at it from the back, it looks like this. If you look at it from the side, it looks like this. If you look at it from the front, it looks like this. It looks like this. And if you look at it from the other side, it looks like this. So this is our wall, and as you can see, it's not got much on it. As it's facing our infant school, we're going to put some plants on it and make it a living wall.
And then if we come out, and turn around, that's where our go-kart's going to come out. Yeah, be like Batman's lair, can come out and go around. Yeah.
If you come on the roof, to represent our school, we have our school name, which is WJS, and we have our colour, which is blue, and we have lights shining down.
Essentially, these kids came into the space, we set everything up for them. They've never used a virtual reality headset like the HTC Vive before. We told them that they're going to walk around their new tech pod that they helped design, and we'd like to film them and sort of let them give us a tour of their future tech pod. Within 5 minutes, these kids are put on the headsets. They know all the buttons. They're walking around. They were saying, "Oh, this is where our go-kart's going to be kept. This is where we're going to study down here. This overlooks the sports field. As you can see, our school's over there." These guys are like 10 and 11, and they took to it like ducks to water. So I spoke briefly about VR's use in architecture. So if we look at the workplace now and how VR is used in the workplace, architecture being the first port of call, really. I went to a friend's architecture firm, and he wanted to show his boss the headset, the Oculus Rift DK1. It had just been released. No one really knew what it was, although people had kind of heard what it was. Really, it's still unclear. No one had really used it. We took it over to him, and he was really skeptical. He was like, "No, it's a gimmick, not interested. I'll stick to what I've been using for the last 10, 20 years. We put his model that he was working on inside the headset. He put it on, and then for the next hour, he just spoke to himself as he made notes and looked around this 3D model that he'd just built. He took it off and then ordered one online. He could go around the building, say, okay, the lighting's not right over there, adjust different elements, this doorway's not big enough. And obviously you don't want to have to build the building to find out these issues, obviously ultimately saving him a lot of money. We've also done a lot of sort of inventories for real estate companies, tours of developments, selling them overseas before they've even been built. And a really useful application, I'll include all the links to what I mentioned at the end, Iris VR. So you mentioned earlier about Revit. You can import Revit files directly into Iris VR. It's a web-based application. So if you've got the headset connected to the PC, all you've got to do is upload your 3D drawing and you can view it straight away in virtual reality. In medicine, so we've seen this quite a lot, and obviously the practical uses of this are vast. Here we have a woman operating on a knee. It looks like she's got like a syringe in there at the moment, but typically that tool could also be used as a scalpel. So there's this one-to-one relationship between what she's using and what she's actually seeing, and she can interact with sort of someone's knee, for example. Obviously with that there's no risk. You can practice complex surgeries. Outside of direct surgery, there's also therapy. So VR is being used for phobias. We have people in here probably once every 2 weeks. They're younger people that have some sort of motor issue, and the therapist said trying to get these kids to do their exercises properly is sometimes hard work because their mind wanders and they lose interest. Whereas if you put them in a VR headset, you put them in an application like Tilt Brush and you ask them to draw the biggest circles they can for a couple of minutes, they're most likely to do it. They get really into it. It helps with coordination and all sorts. Product design. So again, this is something we've used quite a lot. We've created a few car generators. So essentially these guys are, they have a base model of a car and they're going ahead and they're changing colours, wheel styles, that kind of thing. And with product design, if you get a few people in a space, like in a meeting scenario, you can check the new Coke can design that you've done instantly and get a feel for it as if it was really there. So there's instant edits and results. Marketing, so this is something we do a lot as well. So this is a 360 video we made for Land Rover. They were launching their new phone, the Land Rover Explorer phone, and they wanted to show off some of its features. So what we ended up doing, we ended up getting a BMXer or a mountain bike rider. We connected that camera there, the GoPro Fusion, to his helmet, and he simulated, as if he was simulated a journey through the woods with the phone. He went to different areas, dropped the phone in a puddle, for example, picked it up, brushed it off, checked his navigation and rode around with it. This video was then used at call centres. We put people on a bike, put them on a headset, again using the stimulus of an actual bike there, always helps. And they kind of like rode around this park with the headset on. It was a 360 video, it wasn't like true VR, but you know, people were really excited to get this on their site, and it gets them excited for the product, essentially. It gets them to, encourages them to sell it. Meetings and collaboration. So there's some applications called VR Chat and Oculus Rooms. These are essentially online chat rooms where you're going with an avatar. You can meet different people, you can play games. People have done stand-up in there, and you'd have all these weird-looking creatures and people, their avatars sort of standing around talking with you. We did a art installation last year. I worked for a client, did an art installation, and much of it was in this virtual world where the artists had created several different worlds that you could go into, interact with. There was a big gold Buddha in, and my introduction to it was that I had to meet a gentleman in VR Chat online. He was based in Toronto. So I'm in this lobby. I catch myself in a virtual mirror that's there, and I'm this big praying mantis. It's just the default avatar. And then Han Solo comes up to me, points and says, "Are you Russell?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Russell." "Oh yeah, I'm Eric. Nice to meet you, Eric." We had a short chat with Han Solo, and then he pointed his finger. A portal opened up, and he's like, "Okay, follow me." We walked through this portal, and we ended up in the first room that this artist had created, and we navigated between rooms with Han Solo opening portals for me in VR, which was really, really interesting. Yeah, so I think that the social aspect of VR is going to be massive. So training, again, this is something that we're looking at more and more. We've done a little bit of, but you can put someone in a dangerous situation such as operating a crane or working on railway tracks with no risk. You can monitor them because everything's done digitally. You can get a really accurate score of how well they've done in the application as well, and you can overcome restrictions. So on the rail network, they're obviously always recruiting for new staff, new engineers, and if you're under the age of 18, you can't go on the train tracks. And obviously, if you're going to be an engineer on the train tracks, it helps to be able to get to the train tracks. We created a simulation where students of this course would come down, interact with various objects on these virtual train tracks, as if they were actually there in real life. Obviously, gaining that knowledge and experience, which they wouldn't have been able to do without our help. So there was a really quick intro to virtual reality, where it came about, why now. You could read into a lot more into virtual reality, into VR pods and domes, all the different types of headsets. If you were to come off that, you could look at augmented reality, which is a whole different presentation. But if you haven't interacted with VR before and you're keen to, where do you start? So Google Cardboard is a great place to start. The units cost £5 each or so. You can put your phone in it, and there are an abundance of applications online from the Google Store or the Apple Store. All you got to do is search for VR, and you'll get loads of wicked cool stuff. Likewise, I've included a link at the useful links page, the last page of this presentation, and on that link are links to educational applications. You can also go on YouTube. You can filter, you can search for content and then hit filter via 360, and then it just shows you 360 results. So if you want to put someone in I don't know, a surfing situation or a trip through space or a talk with David Attenborough as he walks alongside a dinosaur, you can do that for free or next to nothing. If you have access to a high-end Windows-based PC, you can grab a headset anywhere from £150 for the mixed reality type headsets, all the way up to £1,600 for the HTC Vive Pro, for example. It depends what you want to spend, what you want to do with it, how you're going to use it. Also, it's certainly worth doing your research. As with most computers that come out, a new headset's probably just around the corner, so it might be worth waiting for the newer headsets to come out. Or you can invite us to come do a workshop. We've been doing student-based workshops with universities, colleges, all the Canary Wharf companies. They're all interested in VR and they want to find out more. They're keen to be agile and find out how they can get, obviously, the edge on their competitors. Here's the useful links page. I'll share that with Tristan later on, which he can send around to you, or with a link to the 360 video as well, so you can see yourselves from 360.